I won't go too far back into my personal history or reveal too much about myself, but I'll be honest, I've been a loner for as long as I can remember. Friends were scarce during my childhood, and I spent countless hours lost in video games on my computer and various consoles. When I hit high school, my interests began to shift toward exploring. I found myself wandering through woods and cemeteries, drawn to the quiet, eerie solitude. Before long, I developed a fascination with trespassing, venturing into places I had no business being in. It started small, sneaking into cemeteries under cover of darkness, but soon escalated to breaking into abandoned hospitals and forgotten schools. Once I was able to drive, these excursions became easier to reach and more frequent. Sometimes I took a rare friend along, but honestly, I preferred going solo. There was a strange comfort in the stillness and shadows, and something about exploring alone at night never frightened me. At least, it didn't used to. Finding these forgotten places was easier than you'd think. I would spend hours on Google Earth, zooming into remote rural stretches, hunting for buildings that looked like they'd been left behind by time. I'd make lists of 5 to 10 places and try to hit them all in a day. Some weren't abandoned after all, but I got pretty good at reading the signs. Trekking through dense woods became routine, boots crunching over fallen branches and dead leaves. I wasn't some thrill seeker. Without a day job, I worked as a stock boy at a local supermarket, so when I wasn't at work or in school, I was out there chasing silence and shadows. One afternoon, one location on my list turned out to be an old, disused church. I parked on a rough dirt road, then hiked about 10 minutes through tangled undergrowth until I spotted a crumbling structure nestled in a clearing, its silhouette broken by shattered stained glass and peeling paint. Out front stood a well, ancient and dark. I walked over, curious if it had been sealed off long ago, but the lid was gone. Leaning over the edge, I peered into endless blackness. Then I heard it, a faint clicking, steady and rhythmic, like a metronome ticking somewhere deep below. It wasn't water. It sounded more like a stick tapping against stone, slow and deliberate. I should have turned away right then, but something held me there, almost hypnotized by the rhythmic echo. Eventually, I pulled myself together and pushed open the heavy double doors. They groaned loudly, sending a shiver down my spine as the sound reverberated through the silent trees. Inside, the air was heavy with dust and the musty scent of decay. Sunlight patched the gloom through broken glass, illuminating overturned pews and scattered debris. The pulpit slanted unevenly, and beyond it, a tall arched doorway yawned into darkness. I swept the room with my flashlight and snapped photos, capturing the eerie beauty of ruined church that had once been a beacon of community, now reclaimed by silence and neglect. Moving slowly toward the back, I entered a narrow hall lined with small storage rooms. Many of the doors hung crooked or were missing entirely, draped in thick cobwebs. At the end of the hall, a staircase led downward into the basement. Normally, basements were thrilling places to explore, shadowy and secretive. But this time, something about the open basement door sent a cold wave of dread through me. My instincts whispered to turn back, but curiosity or stupidity won out. I took the first creaking step down, then another, the wood groaning beneath my weight. On the 7th step, the rotten board gave way, and I plunged down with a heavy thud, landing in a pile of broken furniture and dirt. Pain shot through my tailbone as I muttered a frustrated curse. My flashlight slipped from my grasp during the fall, so I scrambled to grab it. That's when I heard the voice. High-pitched, almost childlike, yet unmistakably strange, it whispered a jumble of words I couldn't understand except for one clear, chilling hello. It sounded like someone trying to speak but failing, their voice bubbling out in a distorted, otherworldly way. The basement was cluttered and grim, stone walls cold and rough, the dirt floor scattered with debris. Then I noticed a tunnel carved crudely into one wall, fresh shaped by hand or tool. The voice was coming from down there. Drawn forward despite my rising fear, I stepped cautiously into the tunnel. The flashlight flickered weakly, threatening to die, and I smacked it against my palm to keep it alive, making the weird voice echo louder, as if provoked. Suddenly, silence descended, thick and suffocating. Then, that slow, rhythmic clicking started again, precise, steady, echoing endlessly through the dark passage. My heartbeat thundered in my ears, my skin prickling as if unseen eyes watched me. Desperately, I turned and fled back toward the stairs, hands clawing at the wooden railings, ignoring the broken step I'd fallen through moments before. The beam from my flashlight bounced wildly as I scrambled upward, every creak and groan amplifying my panic. At last, I burst through the hallway, crossed the ruined sanctuary, and bolted out the front doors. I stopped only briefly by the well. The eerie clicking and garbled voice vanished like a nightmare fading at dawn. There was nothing but silence, oppressive and unnatural, with no birdsong or rustling leaves. The well's black depth stared back at me, empty and unknowable. I don't know what I encountered that day. Some part of me clings to the hope it was kids messing around or my imagination playing tricks, but something deep inside whispers otherwise. That day, I abandoned the rest of my exploration list. The excitement had vanished. Instead, I drove home in silence, the radio off, my mind racing with unspoken fears. I didn't give up exploring completely, but I took a long, much-needed break.